Hello and welcome to the walk-off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford, joined by Matt Cernaka, and we have all sorts of playoff baseball to talk here. To start with, kind of a bummer we didn't get to comment on the Blue Jays' big division series win a little bit more timely. I am on the road right now, and of course, was flying out Thursday morning and just didn't have time to do the content at the time of the win, which is a bummer. I know I did get some messages being like, "Hey, you guys don't have an episode today?" It's like, no, we didn't. But the Friday show, we're gonna talk it. We're gonna dive into this Blue Jays division series win. The team finally kind of getting credit from American national networks, which is kind of validating. We'll talk some of that rhetoric. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., my goodness, man. Like, talk about taking the next step. The
Oh yeah.
guy was unreal, the entire ALDS.
We've been talking about how do you measure clutch all season. That was clutch. He produced every time he came to the plate. He drove in runs when we needed it, padded runs when we needed it. It was perfect. He had probably the best ALDS I've seen from a Blue Jay.
Which is crazy because really you start running down the numbers of some of these guys like Ernie Clement was hitting like 600. Dalton Varsho had an incredible series. You look at the pitching side of things, but no, Vladdy kind of stood alone as like the lightning rod of
Yeah,
this victory.
yeah, I think all up and down the lineup, everybody contributed in some way, shape, or form. Nathan Lucas padded runs, gave us the win. George Springer had a very off ALDS, but still had that leadoff double to
Yeah.
start the game. The sac fly to drive in Ernie. He was even though he was off his game, he was still producing. It just felt like everything was clicking for the Jays in game four.
ALCS lineup thoughts and changes ahead. We'll kind of touch on that. The Dodgers advanced last night, heartbreaking in a heartbreaking way. Like honestly, I felt so bad for that Orion Kirkering, like just such a brain fart, man. And it's just, Philly fans are going to literally light him up for the entire offseason. It's just,
So I was working last night, and my buddy who works beside me is a Phillies fan, and we had the game on. Just the most brutal, heart-wrenching thing I've ever seen. He was in shambles.
what
He
a
was
horrible
like,
way to lose.
but he was like, if that's what they're gonna do, we deserve to lose. And also, did you see this is all over freaking whatchamacallit? It's all over
Media.
Twitter and stuff today, is the winning run didn't touch the plate because he assumed the ball was going to first, so he just didn't touch the plate. And then when JT missed it, he came back and touched the plate.
Wow.
So if JT actually caught that ball, or if it was on target, he would have been out anyways, which just adds
So
rubs
many,
salt in the wound.
so many little factors in that play. And again, that's one of those ones. And the narrative around it of like the moment was too big. I just don't know if I like that. I mean,
Do you think he
maybe
knew how many outs there were?
that's a good question. I'm not sure actually. Was it two
Let
outs or
me.
was it?
There were two outs.
Yeah.
There were two outs. So if you threw it to first, I want to
Yeah.
see something because this might explain it.
We'll also talk game seven, Seattle, Detroit, while you look that up here. And I know there's Blue Jays fans who would prefer Detroit. The record against Detroit is 4-3. The record against the Mariners is 4-2. So the Blue Jays have won the season series in the regular season against both these teams. Personally, I don't really care. I don't think it matters. I kind of feel like the Blue Jays already beat the best team in the American League outside of them. This is, by the way, not saying that this ALCS is going to be easy. It absolutely is not. The Detroit Tigers with Tarek Skubal is very formidable. The Mariners have an incredible pitching staff, and with the way that they went out at the trade deadline and bolstered that lineup offensively with Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez, I mean, this is a very, very competitive team. But I don't really care who they face. Go ahead.
I
What were you looking up?
I looked it up. I thought he came in with um with one out. Or sorry, I was thinking that he only pitched two-thirds and he thought something.
Hmm.
But he came in with two outs, so it's
Right.
kind of weird that that was the second batter he faced. To touch on the Tigers and Seattle, I'd rather the Tigers.
I mean, you're not alone, Matt. I think most people feel that way because of how deep the Seattle Mariners pitching staff is, both bullpen and starting. They are formidable to say the least.
And they constantly beat up on the Jays when they come to Toronto. Kyle
Hmm.
Riley loves to hit in Toronto, and as soon as you let him get hot, everything else just kind of follows around him. It's to me, they're probably the best offensive team that's left on
Yes.
paper. And they easily have one of the best pitching staffs in the entire MLB. I feel like we'd have a better chance trying to slow down the Tigers and jump ahead on their pitching staff than Seattle, but who
That
knows?
said, maybe 2025 is the year where we exercise every fucking demon this Toronto Blue Jays team has ever had, right? And there is a real bad taste in Blue Jays fans around that 2022 Seattle Mariners wild card game series, actually. I mean, the Blue Jays were up 8-0. Teoscar Hernandez taking curtain calls in the fourth inning, and then just the entire baseball the array of baseball gods, I guess, all took their turns, making them just like completely collapse. So it would be kind of cool for them to face Seattle. One of the things I do love about these two matchups, we are going to talk this division series, by the way. I'm running down our topics here and we're just diving in wherever. Very walk off, taking left turns here of us. But they're going to need to put some rules into effect in Seattle and Detroit to stop Canadians from taking over those stadiums, dude. They're going to need to go full on New York with Boston, not allow people from Massachusetts like the Yankees did, so they'll have some sort of Michigan only, Washington State only ticket sales. But Blue Jays fans, on the secondary ticket market, there's a lot of them that will still go down and buy tickets. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think it's going to be full on like half and half or anything like that, but I bet you there's going to be 20% Blue Jays fans at either of those stadiums.
See, even at the Yankees game, there was probably like 30% Blue Jays. They were you could they were there was enough that chanting "Let's go Blue Jays" was loud enough on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And part of me is thinking Seattle might just leave it alone. It's a really dumb thing to do, but it almost feels like they're just gonna let whatever happens happens if they keep going and they'll like the ticket sales.
We'll see how they play this. We will see how they play this. Let's dive in to our ALDS champions here. The Toronto Blue Jays, the first team to be one of the final four. Obviously, the Dodgers advancing last night. Two game fives remaining in Detroit and Seattle. And then, of course, there's the Milwaukee and Chicago Cubs series. And I can't believe the Cubs have come all the way back here, down to nothing. Neither of these teams have yet to win on the road. And of course, the tie-breaking and final decision game is going to be in Milwaukee. So the advantage does lean towards the Brewers there. So the Toronto Blue Jays for the entire series, okay, the Yankees held the lead for 4 innings, Matt.
And it was four tough
And it
innings.
was 4 tough innings. This team took care of business, and it's just been euphoric in Blue Jays fandom. I mean, I was on Sportsnet 590 The Fan yesterday talking with Daniele Franceschi about it, and just how much I loved that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hates the Yankees as much as I do, hates the Yankees as much as this fan base, is petty enough to say the Yankees lose. Think about that, man. Think about the salt in the wound. He knew exactly what he was doing. Big Poppy just loving it, by the way. Like, obviously, no love for the Yankees in that man either. But I just had such a great time being online looking at the Yankees fans just completely unraveling. And I know that this is not, what's the best way to put it? This is probably not healthy, right? I shouldn't take this much satisfaction in the misery of others, Matt. But when it comes to the Yankees fans, and I'm not even like this with all sports, this is the only organization where I will rub it in their face the second it happens. And I will take joy in watching their misery. Like I'm a Flames fan. I have so many buddies who are Oilers fans, and whenever, like they've lost a couple heartbreakers in the Stanley Cup Finals, I always give them a few days before I kind of rub it in, right? But
Yeah,
not with the
no.
Yankees.
When my buddy, the Phillies fan, I was rubbing it in right away. I was like, "So, you jumping on the Jays bandwagon?" Moments like the Dodgers are actively running on the field, mere moments after, and I was like, "So, you just lost."
So here's some
Uh,
stats. The Jays hit 9 home runs to the Yankees four, and it was interesting to hear everyone talk about the Blue Jays' ability to move the ball, to grind pitching, to be selective at the plate, to put the ball in contact. All of these are true. But let's not act like they didn't hit their bombs too, because they absolutely did. I mean, they more than doubled the highest home run team hitting team in all of baseball in the regular season. This Blue Jays team showed up when it mattered. They adjusted. They faced very good pitching with the Yankees, and it did not matter. The Blue Jays plated 34 runs across their 4 game ALDS against the Yankees. Their 1 through 6 hitters, buddy, dominant. This is insane, okay? They hit 400 in 40 at bats, or out of the 100,
that's
40 of
crazy.
100. Yeah. Like extra base hits, they had 20. They had 26 RBIs. Like this Jays team also added 18 hits with 2 strikes. The approach was impeccable. The way they went about their business was relentless. And I mean,
They
this is a
played
word.
they played how they did the entire season, which was something we hoped they would do. And that's get on base, get over, take your runs where you can, capitalize on the opportunities, be strong defensively. Yes, game three, everyone has a bad game. And we thought that it would be a turning point. A lot of people thought that it would be a
Mhm.
turning point. And it wasn't. They shut him down game four really nice.
In a bullpen game. Like the Yankees couldn't
Yeah,
handle this pitching, man. The truth is, the Yankees could not handle what the Blue Jays were putting on the mound. Here's some mind-boggling stats from the ALDS. Trent Grisham, 2 for 17 in the leadoff spot. Anthony Volpe, 1 for 15 with 11 Ks. By the way, Matt, Anthony Volpe's 73.3% K rate, worst mark in division series history.
I have a hot take about Anthony Volpe because he did get booed hard in game four.
Yeah.
I
You don't think he's
and
a
this is
Yankee
going to
for
be
good?
something no fan wants to hear. I think the Yankees are going to go for Bo in the offseason
Oh,
because
so do I.
I think Volpe just kind of proved, especially in the ALDS, that he doesn't have it. Even Jazz kind of was a liability, but he did
Paz was
hit
another
home runs.
guy, defensive liability. He also went 2 for 14 in the series. Bellinger was
Yeah.
3 for 16 in the series, and Bellinger may have had the best approach at the plate outside of Judge. Ben Rice was 2 for 11 with 5 Ks. I mean, this is they were combined 10 for 73, and Vlady had 9 hits in the series. So they had one more hit between those 6 guys than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had.
It was perfect. I also have a stat here on the Jays relievers throughout. So from game 1 to 3, they had 12 in it. The Jays bullpen had 12 innings, 19 hits, 12 earned runs, an 8.76 ERA, and the Yankees were batting 350 against them. Game 4, obviously the bullpen days. So they went all 9 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 ERA, opponent batting 188. They locked it down.
And there was
It
some redemption in that too, Maddie. Like think about Louis Varland and
Oh, huge redemption game.
how disappointed he was that he gave up that home run to Judge. I mean, on a pitch that again, I think it's something like out of 1,200 pitches in 2025 that were over 100 or over 99 miles an hour and outside the strike zone like that. It's the only home run that was hit. It's
I,
crazy.
I don't think there's anyone else in the league that would hit that ball. It would have jammed him, and it Judge just I don't know how he barreled that, but he did it. And I give him full credit that if he goes after that pitch, because it's a good pitch.
Oh yeah.
If he goes after that and gets it, he's earned it. He had a huge redemption game. I think Hoffman did too, especially with everyone thinking that he's gonna blow it in some way, shape, or form, and he shut them down with the bases loaded, series on the line in the ninth. It was
You know what? It would be really easy for a team to blow a 6-1 lead and falter a little over the next 24 hours, especially being that the game was the next day and the Blue Jays showed up. Listen, credit where credit is due. And the national media in the US finally started to pay attention to what the Blue Jays are doing, which, I mean, it took them playing the Yankees for 4 games for some of these folks who have been making comments on the Jays to actually sit and watch this team. And it was interesting to hear them be like, this is old school baseball, the contact, the grinding of the pitchers, and no mention of how badly they out homered the New York Yankees. Like this is
I
the thing is it was such a well-balanced attack. And yeah, it was contact. It was grinding them down. It was putting the ball in play. But also they were hitting more than 2 home runs a game.
I think a huge staple is you beat the Yankees are quote unquote America's team. They've always been the baseball team.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you beat them, especially in the playoffs, people are turning heads and saying, oh shit, you're someone who's ready to go. You're someone who
Mhm.
should be feared." And rightfully so. The Blue Jays, like you said, they stood on business. They hit home runs when they needed to, played small ball. They did everything possible to win those games.
It was so fun watching how all the Dominican Republic guys backed Vlady, you know. I mean, I know Pedro Martinez is his godfather, so of course he has him, but he's on ESPN and he's talking about how Vlady is the Yankees' daddy, and then you had David Ortiz with A-Rod and Jeter on Fox interviewing him, and of course we are all well aware of the Yankees lose and how much fun they were having together. And I think it really goes to show you. And I mean, obviously, Pedro and Ortiz have no love for the Yankees to begin
No,
with, right? As ex Red Sox. But there really is a dislike of the Yankees outside of guys who played for the Yankees. And almost outside of guys who played for the Yankees during those magic kind of late 90s, early 2000 years.
it. I think I personally, I would say the perception of the Yankees is we can just pay to win. Is we
Mhm.
can pay whoever, whatever, doesn't matter. Where other teams have to crawl, like they have to crawl and scratch for everything they got. And I truly think that's why the Yankees are so hated of just they can basically do whatever they want with their money. And other teams have to save, they have to use it differently. And I feel like that makes a dislike of you never want the big dog to always be winning. You always want the underdog to win.
It is going to be interesting to see if the Yankees' strategy and the way they go about building their team changes from here on out. Because you look at Major League Baseball as a whole, and this is a copycat league, right? If there is a team that is doing something that works, other teams are going to jump on board. We watched it happen with the Oakland A's and Moneyball. We watched it happen with the way that the Tampa Bay Rays go about their business and how many people started to adopt these things that they were doing, like the shift, like to the point where baseball literally had to step in and be like, okay, we're putting in a bunch of rules that are going to stop the Tampa Bay Rays from doing this pretty much, you know? And the way that this game has started to change, they went out and they made the bases bigger. They gave incentive to play baseball like it was the 1970s and 1980s, stealing bases, grinding pitchers, making contact, doing the little things, playing good defensively. And we're watching it kind of swing back the other way. The success of the Milwaukee Brewers, the success of the Toronto Blue Jays in this has been incredible. And honestly, it took a while because you need a lot of depth. To do what the Blue Jays and the Brewers are doing, you need a shit ton of depth. You need guys who are able to be the next man up, who are able to, when there's an injury or when you're platooning someone, step in and get the job done. And I think we watched last year when it doesn't happen, how badly it fails. I mean, this is a Toronto Blue Jays team that finished 20 games above what they did in 2024. And I think the experience went a long way figuring out how to play that way. Like look at what Davis Schneider has done this year.
Oh yeah, completely different player.
Look at what
Um, I
Nathan Lucas has done.
I also think a huge part of this of why this worked was, and we've said it many times, is John Schneider told everybody, "This is your role. This
Mhm.
is what we want you to do. Either get on board or we don't need you." And everybody got on board. Davis is always flipping in and out of the lineup
Mhm.
constantly throughout the season, throughout a game.
And that's a difficult role to have.
Very difficult, but he does it very well. Asen Barger, Nathan Lucas, they know they're not going to get any time against lefties. Could not care less. They're gonna go up when they got their chances and make the most of it. And I think that's been the mentality of the team the whole year is I'm gonna get my chances. I'm gonna get spots. I'm gonna make the most of it. And that on top of a team that is so close in terms of friends, a brotherhood, a team.
Mhm.
I can't remember a team that I've ever seen this close. And I think it makes everything easier knowing that you're not doing something alone.
And listen, I had very little love for Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro to start this season. I was fed up with them. It had been too long since they had put up or shut up. There was so much rhetoric. I hated the way that they went about explaining what they're doing, right? That consistency is a competitive advantage within an organization. That line drove me nuts, man, because it just was like, oh yeah, sure, nobody should be fired. We just stick with everybody. But you know what, man? I couldn't really see what Atkins and Shapiro were trying to build, and now it's pretty apparent that this is it, right? This and listen, they have shifted. They have made differences in the way they went about their business, right? Their hitting strategy has shifted. I think David Popkins has done a great job coming in and keeping everyone, like we mentioned with Davis Schneider, right? It's so difficult to come in and out of the lineup in the way some of these guys do. And it just has all kind of clicked. Really lucky at times too. You talk to this team about who brought them together, and Miles Straw gets brought up every single time. This was an afterthought. This was a dude that the organization literally brought in for no other reason than they needed money to chase Roki Sasaki. They were
Yeah.
totally prepared to burn the $6 million left on his contract, having this guy in AAA.
And he came in and had probably one of the best seasons of any player on that team. He
It's
did great. Even even late in game 4. He came in defensively for Santander, had to bat. Everyone's thinking, why the hell is Miles Straw getting an at bat?
Hmm.
And sure enough, base hit pads the lead. He delivered in the most timely of times, and he's done everything possible to prove himself to this team. And I think he deserves a spot next year for sure.
For sure. And I think he will be on this team next year in that fourth outfielder way. And you know what? Like there's been so much talk about the secondary, the blue collar guys, right? The behind the scenes, the non-stars. And I know one of the biggest complaints I had about this front office was player development. And even in the last 2 years, they've done great work in that aspect. You look at Lucas, you look at Davis Schneider, you look at guys like Mason Fluharty and Brendan Little. And I mean, honestly, man, the list goes on and on of dudes who have been called up from Buffalo and have contributed in ways that most of the fan base did not see coming in any fashion. By the way, I'm not out here pom pom and Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins. But I will say, going to the ALCS, this is as good as any team since 1993. And
Oh yeah.
and if they get to the World Series, this surpasses 2015 and 16, just on paper, just in black and white. You may
Yeah.
like the 2015 team better or feel more feelings about it or however you want to, everyone's opinion is different on what teams they enjoy the most. But
If they
black and
get to
white, if this team goes to the World Series, Matt, they've outdone what Anthopoulos did.
if they get to the World Series, I think especially for Ross Atkins, the Alex Anthopoulos was better narrative kind of fades.
It
And
does. It's
um
fading already, right?
yeah,
It's
it's
fading
very
already.
much fading. The other thing is if they make it to the World Series, this is easily the best team we've seen since '93. It's
Absolutely.
it's crazy. And if you were to tell me this last year that we were had the chance to go to the World Series, I'd say you're bullshitting. And I do have to give Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins credit of last year they went out, they got a ton of veterans to add to the team, and it didn't work. And this year they said we're gonna trust what we have in Buffalo, we're gonna trust our system, and have they taken the reins and just run with it? It's
And I,
been
I I know there's a lot of people out there who say they're horrible because look at their free agent signings. They didn't work out. Andre Jimenez. The trade didn't work. Well, I mean, he was injured a lot of the season. I push back against that one. I mean, Anthony Santander, same sort of thing. And you know what? To take credit away from them for that, but not give them credit for the guys who have stepped up, who were in the system, who they developed. I feel like you're being a little hypocritical there. Again, I'm still not a huge Shapiro Atkins fan. But I'll tell you what, I'll be fucking waving their flags and like just lavishing them with compliments, like just putting it all at their feet here if they get to the World Series. Because despite the fact that I was convinced they needed a new front office to get to where they're at, they didn't. And all I want, which is something I've been very consistent with on this podcast, all I want is the Toronto Blue Jays to win. That's what I'm after. And if
yeah, and
you give me that, all is fucking forgiven. I swear.
yeah,
It's
realistic.
hard to win a World Series, right? And the Toronto
Yeah,
Blue Jays
I'd
came into the
say
league in 77. I'll let you talk here in a second.
no, you go first.
The Blue Jays came in 77. Technically, if you're winning every 30 years, you're at least keeping up with where
Yeah,
you should be. And so the Blue Jays have won two. Technically, they're in the black right now. And if they can win another one here, my goodness, what a boon for Toronto as a city. What a huge win for Canada and for baseball around the country. I am very excited about where this team's at here. And go ahead and jump in here, Matt. We will talk
Sorry
about
to
the
jump
ALCS
in
lineup
there.
here too.
Um, I was gonna say that MLB is probably, in my opinion, the second hardest trophy to win in major sports. Of Hockey's the toughest because the physicality, the lengthy playoffs.
The parody.
Baseball second toughest because you got 162 games. You have to not only produce, you have to survive mentally, survive physically, and the Blue Jays have done that. Yeah,
Hmm.
we're missing a few guys, but overall they stayed relatively healthy. They've really mentally been there every single day. Even I'm go back to the day off before game three. I remember Vlady had the press conference where he said there was an optional workout day, and every single player on that team showed up.
Hmm.
I think their mentality is we want it all,
When
and
your
we want it now.
$500 million man works the hardest of anyone, that goes a long way, right? And that's good leadership from guys like George Springer who have instilled that into Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So, you know what? Great leadership on this team, great chemistry, and we're seeing the fruits of that labor. ALCS lineup, where do you think the differences are going to be? Do you think Tommy Nance and Justin Brule are off this team? I think that that's going to be the big ones. I think Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett will replace them. And then
Yeah,
I,
I would
I
say.
wonder about Bo Bichette if he's going to take IKF's spot.
Um, See, that's tricky. So I would say Bo over IKF. It would be between Schneider and IKF for who gets dropped because of Bo. And IKF just didn't really have a great series. He made the
No.
defensive blunder in game three. Um, and it was pretty
This is if
apparent.
Bo can run, by the way.
Yeah, this
I
is
think
very
that,
much an if Bo can
yeah,
run.
if he's healthy
Um,
ish.
we're assuming he's going to be healthy enough to play.
Hmm.
Um, I see. I think he'll be on the lineup as a healthy scratch, and then
Bo?
as not a healthy scratch. Sorry,
No, but
like
like as the series, he might be added to the roster in hopes that he can contribute in major ways in game 4, 5, 6 type of thing, right?
yeah, he's not going to be your game one, two, three, and if that, he's going to DH in
Yeah.
those games.
Yeah.
There's no physical way he's going to be playing like that. And the other thing that I hope they're going to address is Santander in right field is not a good idea.
Yeah.
He huge defensive liability. There was multiple times throughout this series. Um, I think it was game two, he had a leaping catch that he just completely misjudged,
Yeah.
gave up multiple bases. Obviously the dive in right field in game three where he took the worst route I think I've ever seen on a baseball. And this is not saying he's not a good player. He did get some hits. He did give us some RBIs, but
Mhm.
defensively, I think he's just a liability, and that's unfortunately where we stand.
And I mean, it's going to get more interesting if Bo Bichette is on this roster and can't play the field because all of a sudden that DH spot where you really want to put Springer if you can with his success that he's had there, all of a sudden you're like, should we put Santander there? He's such a liability in the field. We need to use it for Bo now. So now both George and Santander are in the field, or maybe you just don't line the lineup that way and you kind of sit one of them at one point and bring them in later in the game. I don't know how it's going to go about, but drop your comments, everyone. Where are you at on Santander? Where are you at on Bo? How do you think this ALC lineup is going to shape up? All right, Matt, we've got a few minutes left here. Let's dive into these other series. Dodgers advance to the NLCS once again. Orion Kirkring, we already talked about it. Horrible way for this team to lose.
Just
Do you think that there's any, do you think Milwaukee or the Cubs can compete with the Dodgers?
I think Milwaukee can. I think it's been Milwaukee. They were the best team in all of baseball. They had sneaky good talent of just same with the Blue Jays, guys contributing from every position, guys who've been in their system. And even though they lost the past two games in Chicago, game three, they still had a good offensive output, just wasn't enough. Um, I think it just comes down to if Milwaukee can control how much they give up early. Because that's been the story of the last two games in Chicago. They
Yeah.
gave up 3 runs in the first both games. Um,
They even did in the second game, and
yeah.
Milwaukee came back.
And that's been the big story for Milwaukee. If they can control that, and assuming they advance,
Yeah.
they can contend with the Dodgers.
Okay, last and not least, Seattle, Detroit. Drop your comments, everybody. Who would you prefer? I know we kind of touched on this, and you're leaning you'd rather Detroit. I feel kind of the same way here, but I don't really care. We talked about the exercising of the demons. How do you think this series is going to end, Matt? Do you think Detroit has the firepower with Scooble on the mound to to gut out a win in tonight's game?
I really hope so. I think to be completely honest, Seattle are studs. It is a great team. It is off. It's not only an offensive juggernaut, it's got pitching depth. It has everything you would think of a World Series contending team, which makes them all the more scary. But obviously going up against Skubal, who is one of the best pitchers in baseball right now,
Hmm.
it's gonna be it's gonna be a
Gonna be
tough game.
tough.
It's gonna be a tough matchup. And the other reason that I would hope Detroit advances is because Skubal's playing game five. He's not available 1-2 of ALCS.
Hmm.
So if we can jump ahead on him early,
Maybe you only need to
that,
face Scooble one time in a 7 game series. I doubt it. I
yeah.
think they'd go on short rest if it did wind up getting into that game 6, 7 area, but still, very good point. Honestly, everybody, thank you so much for following along here. I need to get on the road, and apologies that I don't have my mic and stuff with me here. Just, Road Scott. Just you got to put up with it. But go Blue Jays, go. So awesome they're in the ALCS. What a year. Take care, everybody.